There's something on my mind, and I can't hold it in. Bitch, I can't hold these notes in either. Nessa girl, I had to go put on my Whoopi Goldberg wig, honey, because I got to have a hard truth with y'all hoes. And when y'all try to get me together in these comments, I need the goddamn armor of Wakanda, okay? Just because your baby made good grades do not mean he's smart, okay? Listen, I watch so many parents post their kids' honor roll achievement certificates and they report cards on Instagram and Facebook, and as you should. But just because your baby have good grades don't mean they smart, okay? What do I mean by that? Oh, some of y'all sitting up now finna be offended. Listen, y'all, there once used to be a time that good grades directly translated into life success, okay? And that time was during the Industrial Revolution. Those days, that concept doesn't so much exist anymore, and our education system has not adjusted with the time. So what do I mean about our education system and the Industrial Revolution? Well, let's face it. The education system was designed basically to create factory workers, okay? I'm going to put all of you in one classroom. I'm going to teach all of you the exact same thing. I'm going to test all of you on the exact same thing. And those who excel are those who get the job at the factory, at the steel plant, at the car factory, at the whatever the case may be. And y'all, let's face it, our education system has not changed since then. So listen, your baby make real good grades, your baby make straight A's, your baby on the honor roll every month, and guess what? Your baby is best suited to be a factory worker, and that's just true tea. Now some of y'all gonna take that hard because it's like, oh my God, you know, my baby make all A's, so that means my baby supposed to be a doctor, so on and so forth. Let me tell you something. Following instruction does not breed creativity, okay? It does not breed ingenuity, and it does not breed independent thinking. It's just that. Your baby make good grades, your baby make straight A's, means that one of your baby's skill sets is that they can follow instructions to the T. Let's face it, y'all, public education, true T. How hard was it every night to go home, read the chapter, and answer the questions at the back of the book? You see what I'm saying? Like that, school has always come easy to me because it was never challenging. Let me tell y'all something. I done went to college 3 times. And if you ask me right now to regurgitate anything I've learned in my economics training, I can assure you I can't remember 90% of it. And why? Because my brain developed a technique of learning just enough to get through the test, and then the rest of that shit was going. I couldn't talk to you right now about Keynesian economics and growth curves and parabolas if I wanted to. Bitch, I remember I learned that shit on Monday, the test was on Friday, and bitch, I was drunk and fucking by Saturday and Sunday and ready to learn something new on the following Monday. And that's just the way it is. Our education system trains us to test and meet certain benchmarks. Now, I'm not saying that this is the general rule for everybody, but, and of course there are some outliers, and of course there are creative people that make good grades, and of course there are people who make good grades that can think. I'm not talking about people that fall on the fringes. I'm talking about the herd as a whole and how our education system was designed. I'm gonna tell you something else about me. Smart has always been my claim to fame, okay? Y'all, I'm from Miami, Florida, an inner city area called Carroll City. Luckily for me, my parents started me off in private school the first half of my education. In the 4th grade, I switched over to public school. It did give me a slight advantage over the rest of the public school kids, but nonetheless, you'll see where this story ends up. I was always the smart kid. In my inner city classes, I was always 1, 2, or 3. He speaks so well, this, that, and the third. Your kid might be good at football, your kid might be good at dance. My claim to fame was being smart. But I'm gonna tell you something, bitch. When I went down to Florida State University and got my degree in economics, bitch, after I got through freshman orientation, them hoes taught me that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. You see what I'm saying? When I had got around kids that had been in more advanced educational systems, private school, charter school, homeschooling, I I went through my freshman year this whole culture shock of, bitch, you're not the smart kid anymore. And what will your claim to fame now be on Florida State's campus? Because, bitch, these kids went to space camp over here, and these kids been going to art camp since they was 3, and these kids been going to this, that, and the other program, and you thought because you could regurgitate the questions at the end of the damn chapter that you were oh so damn smart. You came to Florida State thinking because your ass had taken Algebra 2, getting ready to take Algebra 3, that you was all that like this and not like this. And these kids was over here taking aeronautics and fucking trigonometry. So you know what I'm saying? That alone taught me a very valuable lesson that, bitch, number one, smarts is subjective, and it depends on the yardstick by which you're measuring smarts. I'm not trying to shade my inner city education. My people gave me the best they could, but compared to other places in the nation, the bar was set so low that shit, it wasn't hard to be smart by Carroll City's, Miami-Dade County's measurement. It was not hard to be smart. But moving along from that, what I did learn in college was that you don't have to be an A student to survive. You don't have to be an A student to be prosperous. And I'm going to tell you something. I've always found beauty in being a C student. While I was always the smartest in my classes, when I got to college, I was the C student. Because I was less concerned about reading a book and answering the questions at the end of the chapter than I was my campus involvement and doing things that, you know, impacted the world and made real change, or pursuing my passions and things that made me feel good on the inside. And this is all gonna come full circle. So when I became a senior in college and I started interviewing for jobs at the career fair, I remember walking in with my 2.7, 2.8 GPA feeling like none of these companies are going to hire me because I can't compete with these kids that got 3.5s and 4.0 GPAs. And I'll never forget, excuse me, I met with one recruiter, and this lady said, her particular company, she was like, we actually don't like to interview straight A students. And she was like, because we're looking for leaders, we're looking for innovators. And she was like, straight A's tell me that this student sat in their dorm room all day and read a book, that they didn't get out, they didn't cultivate their leadership skills. They didn't cultivate their critical thinking skills. And they were like, you know, quite frankly, we can teach anybody to do the job. I.e., going back to that factory worker mentality. We can teach you to do the job. We can't teach you to think. We can't teach you to be a leader. We can't teach you to be compassionate. We can't teach you how to interact with people of various backgrounds and make them all flow in one song and dance. Those are things, those are intangibles that cannot be taught on the job. That's called life. That's called, you know, a lifelong development of skills. And so she was saying, we look at C students, but we balance that with their civic involvement, their campus involvement, this involvement, their background. Do their subject and verbs agree? There's a lot of different factors. So I say this, I say that to say this. I'm not making excuses for students who are lackadaisical and who do not push themselves to do their best, because I could have made better grades in college. But what I am saying is that don't simply think because you make good grades and good grades alone that the world is just going to open up for you, because the reality of the situation is that skill set needed to make good grades, in my opinion, is only needed to get in the door. Once you get the job, baby, you got to have a slew of other skill sets to keep it. And that's just true tea. I got a lot of friends who were straight A students who went on to law school and who are miserable as hell right now, or they can't make a decision to save their damn life, so on and so forth. But I have other friends who are straight A students who are effing thriving. But they are thriving in environments that require them to take instruction. Corporate world is one of those good situations where, you know, if you can sit there and take instruction and that works in concert with your personality, then being a straight A student would be perfect for you. You know what I'm saying? But then you've got people like me, the artsy type, the creative type. I'm the type that my boss will tell me something, and I'll look at the process and be like, but I have to do this in 7 steps according to your way. But in my mind, I can do this in 3 steps. But doing that in the corporate world is negatively rewarded. You get fired for challenging the system. Even though your way is better, you are paid to take instruction and do it my way. Factory worker. You see what I'm saying? It's a factory worker without the negative connotation, but it's a factory worker's mentality. And again, because our current education system has not changed since the Industrial Revolution, we are not breeding free thinkers, critical thinkers at the magnitude in which we should be as Americans. But the factory worker, the sheep mentality, the herd mentality, in this society, it works best for the American people, because could you imagine what America would look like if everybody could fucking think for themselves and not just be zombies and do what they're told? With that being said, I never thought the day would come that I would be anti all things academia. And I'm not. I am of the belief I don't give a fuck. Kids have to go to college. For me, there's only 2 places you can go after high school: college or the military. And here is why. And before y'all jump down my throat with this, college ain't for everybody. What if you want a job that don't require college? Listen, college ain't for everybody. College ain't for nobody. It is no fun sitting in the library at 2 o'clock in the morning, reading the chapter, answering the questions at the end of the book. That shit ain't for nobody. Here is what college does do. College is a breeding ground for creativity. College is a breeding ground for lost kids to find themselves through immersion, through shared experiences, through trial and error. You cannot get those things immediately leaving high school and going to the county and signing up for a receptionist job at the damn DMV. I'm sorry, you being around 60-year-old Miss Margaret and her bitter ass is not going to help your brain flourish and blossom. And I understand that different people's life situations require them to take different paths. But that's why I also said the military is another great place to go, because where else in life are you going to have this pocket of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are equally as lost as you, trying to figure it out just as you are, and y'all can figure it out together. Then you have people who are specially trained to deal with your lost, confused ass while you figure it out. My whole thing is, I hear a lot of people say, well, she ain't finna go to college and figure it out on my money. But where's she gonna figure it out? In your basement working at McDonald's? Even if you go to college and don't complete it, that experience is still the most valuable experience one will ever have, and it sets you apart from a lot of damn people out there in the workforce. I'm sorry, and I mean this with every fiber of my body. You can have 2 people working the same job that does not require a college education, but you can always tell the difference between the person that spent some time on a college campus or in a military, you know, finishing school type of setting versus that person that left their mama's house and went directly into the workforce. It's a different swag, it's a different confidence, it's a different way of thinking, it's a different level of creativity, it's a different way of walking and dressing that that person has. And I'm sorry, that is why I will forever be a proponent of college. Shit, I don't remember a motherfucking thing I learned in that book, but I remember everything I learned in life. I remember all the skills, so on and so forth. I learned the creativity. I learned the politicking of the world. And those are situations and experiences that cannot be recreated in any other place as of now, other than a college, a military base, some sort of vocational program, some sort of boarding situation, some sort of study abroad situation with a bunch of 19-year-olds. So y'all, that's why travel is important. Putting your kids in the arts is important. Walking your kids through nature is important. Letting your kids get as many hands-on opportunities throughout the world is important. I am a big proponent of the Maria Montessori method of learning. I went to Montessori school up until 4th grade, and that's why I'm a very hands-on and visual person. The days that it's reading the textbook, answering the question shit, those days are done unless you want your child to be a factory worker. And that's all I got, Nessa girl. I'll call you later. Bye.